Hey, it's the DELO, and I am back. It's been about a month since my last podcast, and I am excited to say that I have Chef Aaron Chamberlin today. We are inside of the beautiful Taco Cello, and they are preparing for lunch as we speak. And anyways, Aaron is he's been around Arizona for quite a bit, and I wanted to chat with him today about his restaurant experiences and the current places that he has right now, and just life in general. So, Aaron, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. So, Aaron and I have become pretty close over the last, I would say, 6 to 8 months. Full disclosure, we're in a group called EO together, and I think that group has entrepreneurs, whatever industry that you're in, whether it be insurance or restaurants or air conditioning or whatever it may be. I think it's all helped us out a lot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's good to be in a group of diverse businesses and get feedback and see how other people run their businesses in different industries. I find that a lot of my friends, because the restaurant business is such a time-consuming job, that a lot of my friends are in the restaurant business. So to see how somebody does something in insurance or in air conditioning or in real estate, it helps me. Really helps me to see that maybe things aren't so bad, or what other people are doing, and so it gives me confidence, and also gives me a perspective of different businesses.
Yeah, that's it's definitely an added value and a benefit for us when it comes to being a part of that group, and I absolutely agree with you on what you're saying there. So let's talk about your beginnings and how you got started in the restaurant business. And I think you came from San Francisco, right? You worked out there for a number of years.
I did. But pre-San Francisco, how I really got started is that my grandfather was a chef. So my family has been in the restaurant business in one aspect or another since the 1930s. So, and there was a photograph of my grandfather in my kitchen with him and all of his chefs and their chef's whites. And I remember being a little boy, I'm talking 7, 8, 9 years old, and being very, being aware of how clean and crisp, and them standing tall and being like very kind of a noble thing. And so it resonated with me. Also because of my grandfather being a chef, my mother was a good cook. We grew up loving food. My mother showed us love through food. And then really what happened is I got into the Boy Scouts, and I started doing cooking outdoors. And really, like at age, I would say 9, I was like, I'm going to be a chef. And I would like go on the camping trip, and I would plan the whole week's food out.
Wow.
And I realized that I was different than the other boys, because they were cooking SpaghettiOs over the campfire in the can, and I was grilling whole trout.
You making Dutch ovens.
Yeah, so and so that really kind of got me really interested in cooking, and I knew that I wanted to be a chef at that point. And then when I was in junior high and high school, I realized that through food I could influence people. And one of the things that happened to me is I met a girl. She was in the cheerleading squad, and she loved fettuccine alfredo. And I found a cookbook that had the recipe, and I made it from scratch. And one day I had the entire cheerleading squad over to my house, and I made them fettuccine alfredo. And so that made me realize that, oh my gosh, I can influence people through food.
Right.
And then I got a job in the business. At age 14, I was a dishwasher at a restaurant called the Hunt's Hideaway out on Apache Road in Apache Junction. And unfortunately, they fired me because I cut myself, and they realized I was underage and not really should be working, or I should not be working. And so I walked up the road and got another job. And so those combos just made me say that this is my industry. I love this industry. I love the people. I love the excitement. I love the passion. And I love to be surrounded by food. And so that was it for me. I never looked back.
Yeah, that's really how you got started. So you're basically cooking for the cheerleading squad, and you're realizing that food is not just awesome, but it's also a way to win the hearts.
Yeah, oh definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been my strategy almost my entire life.
Cook a nice meal and they will come over. So you did, okay, so that's how you started. Obviously, you were in Arizona, and then something pushed you to go out to California and work out there for some.
Definitely. I wanted to travel. When I was younger, always. I mean, I've always had a travel bug. My parents we were fortunate enough that every year we traveled. They took me to Europe at a young age. We'd go to California multiple times a year. So I knew that I wanted to get out of my cul-de-sac in East Mesa.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I could, I did. At the age of 17, I moved to the East Coast. I wasn't even 18 yet.
Wow.
And I lived in Ocean City, Maryland, right when I graduated from high school for 5-6 months. And that was kind of my opening to not living around my family and also getting out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
As soon as I came back, I moved to San Francisco. I was very clear on I wanted to be a chef. I wanted to go to culinary school out there, and I wanted to work at the best restaurants in the country. And so when I was about 17 years old, I made a kind of a goal or a path of what I wanted, and I was going to hop from city to city working at the best restaurants, and I wanted to open a great restaurant. So I lived in San Francisco, I lived in New York City, I lived in Boston, I lived in Los Angeles. I spent a lot of time in Mexico City, and that was where I gained my experience, and then eventually decided that Arizona and Phoenix was going to be my long-term home.
Yeah, so you have the resume, you've been to all the big cities, and you've done all the sweat and tears.
For an entire decade, I worked 6 days a week, 16 hours a day. I only took 3 vacations in an entire decade, and those vacations were in between jobs. And literally, I just put my head down, and I just worked all the time. And the reality is that I loved it. Like, I loved being in the kitchen. I loved being, challenged. I loved learning new things. I was very focused. So in my early 20s, all the way into my 30s, I really was just focused on my career. And that engagement and discipline and focus is what has helped me grow as a more mature restaurateur.
Yeah. So you have quite a bit. You have quite a few siblings. How many do you have?
7 brothers and sisters.
7 brothers and sisters. Total, right?
Total.
Okay. And are you the only one that went down to the? Are you the only one that became a chef, or?
It's funny because every single one of my brothers and sisters has worked in the restaurant business at one time, and most of them got out. It just wasn't the right fit for them. I was really the only one that was like all in.
Yeah.
All in on the restaurant business. And
were your parents excited to see somebody go into that field, or were they happy for you?
My parents are, they're very, anything you want to do if you were a sibling or one of their children, they are so game for. If you wanted, my sister became a violist, and they supported that, and I wanted to be a chef, and they supported that. And so they did not have a lot of, we want you to do this or we don't want you to do it. They kind of let us do what we wanted to do and just supported whatever decision we made.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so now you're back in Arizona. St. Francis, was that your first opening out here?
Yeah. I decided to come back to Arizona because I had left when I was 17 years old at age 31, so 14 years. When I came back here at age 31, and the reason why I did is because there was 5 chefs that were popular when I was 17 years old. Christopher Groves, Mark Tarbell, Eddie Madney, Michael's at the Citadel, Roxanne, and those were the chefs that were being talked about when I was in high school, graduating and working in the industry. And literally, when I came back when I was 31, everyone was still talking about the same chefs.
Yeah.
So I thought there was a great opportunity for Phoenix, and that there was going to be a big surge of young talent coming. And also for all the obvious reasons, my family was here, it's a great lifestyle. And so that is what made me come to Arizona and start working on building my restaurant. And St. Francis was my first restaurant, which we opened in 2008.
Okay, 2008, kind of 11 years ago.
Yeah, decade,
Yeah. And how was that experience opening your first restaurant? I mean, knowing what you know now and looking back at opening that, was it a good experience? Was it overwhelming? Would you do some stuff, a lot of stuff different? Or?
You know, like there's a funny thing I always hear people talk about is like, is it naivety or like being naive?
Yeah,
being naive.
Totally.
You know, I was totally naive. I had no clue. I knew, I obviously had a lot of experience working in the kitchen, a lot of experience working in the restaurant, but you know, there's two parts of the restaurant business. There's the restaurant part and then there's the business part. So I had a major learning curve in the business aspect of it. You know, I was just jazzed. I was just jazzed that I was getting the opportunity. It was hard. But you know, that challenge of opening a restaurant made everything else I do or have done seem easier because I went through that challenge, I was just having a blast. Like it was the funnest time.
Yeah.
Like you know, it was good. It was a good time.
How far after St. Francis opened did you start on public market?
You know, so what's interesting is I've had this weird thing, and it probably, I don't know if it's weird, but it probably is not I don't know if it's a good quality or bad quality, but every time I get to a certain point in my life, I kind of look at myself and I say, is this it?
Yeah.
And like, you know, I have a really hard time being satisfied. And so when I became a chef at Chelsea's Kitchen, I was like, is this it? And then I became a GM and I was like, is this it? And then I became multi-operator with the Grand Ranch Hospitality and kind of did a different role, and I was kind of like, this it, and then I opened my own restaurant. So as soon as I opened St. Francis, I knew at that time that I wanted to grow. And I had been looking at the building where the Phoenix Public Market Cafe is. I actually tried to get that building pre-St. Francis, and I was rejected. I was rejected by the landlord because he didn't feel I had enough experience. And there was multiple things that were going on. So I kept my eye on that building, and because it was adjacent to the Arizona's largest farmers market, there was a huge lure for me because as a chef, to be able to go to a place that houses a farmers market and you being able to walk out your kitchen, go shopping, and bring product into your kitchen, it is such a rarity that I had set my eyes on that, and I had literally kept in touch with the landlord, and I would reach out to him on a regular basis. And so it took me 3 years after opening St. Francis to convince him to give me that space to open the Phoenix Public Market Cafe.
Wow. So how long is that? How long is the farmers market been
14
there?
years.
Okay,
so it was going. It was going. I would go down to the farmers market. The farmers market eventually moved into the Phoenix Public Market Cafe, and they called it the Urban Grocery, and it was kind of like a little cafe. And so I was very much keeping my eye on it because the building's gorgeous, and I knew Phoenix was in transition, and I knew that I wanted to be down there. Living in all these cities, like I just wanted to live in downtown, and I live there. I live here now. I'll probably always live in downtown Phoenix. I have a very hard time wanting to live anywhere else but in the pulse and vibration of what's going on in the city.
No, for sure. Okay, so you got Phoenix Public Market, you got St. Francis, and you have this, I would say, itch to continue to grow because you're having some success and you're doing some other stuff. So you would open up a few other places. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, I opened up Tempe Public Market in a restaurant called Ghost Ranch, and also a restaurant called Taco Cello. And so Taco Cello, I have had a chef who started working with me when he was 15 years old. His name is Suni Santana. And he has been probably my right-hand man for a long time. Very talented guy, very nice guy. We've always worked well together. And, you know, I just wanted to see him continually grow because of his talent. And we one time took a trip together with Gennaro Garcia, who's an artist, and I kind of had this idea when we were on the trip that we could create a restaurant, and Suni could create the name, the concept, and the menu, and Gennaro could design the place like an artist would. And so that's what we did. I
Yeah.
came back and found the space, and we started pushing and started creating, and we came up with Tacocello. And to be quite honest with you, it's probably my favorite restaurant of all.
Yeah.
And I like it for multiple reasons. I love the simplicity of it.
Right.
I love the decor. I love where it's located. I love the vibe. And it's been a blast. It's been really, really good.
Yeah, I can vouch with you on that. I mean, insuring a lot of restaurants and seeing a lot of restaurants and being a part of a lot of people's establishments, when you look, we're sitting in Tacocello now, and when you just look in it, it's just a fun, and like you said, it's very simple, but it's fun, and the food is just, it's just accessible and easy, and you just know what you're getting, but it tastes amazing. So
Yeah.
it's, hopefully you'll be doing some more of these, and if you get some opportunities to open up more of these, I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm kind of right now, you know, I had a big year last year.
Yeah.
And so I'm personally in a transition myself. And so what I'm doing is I'm kind of just towing the line and making sure all these businesses get matured. And, you know, I'm going to determine what I'm going to do next,
Right.
you know, in time period. I have 2 young little boys.
Yeah.
I got a young family. So I have a lot on my plate. And so I'm just kind of making sure that I'm getting clarity before I move to the next thing.
So talk about your 20-year-old self and talk about your 40-some-year-old self. What are the main differences as a business owner, a family man, and all that? Things that you want to share that you don't do now that you did back then?
Yeah. I mean, my 20-year-old self, interesting enough, is I was a party animal chef.
Right.
I worked like mad, and I'm actually a healthier individual at age 45 than I was when I was 20, 22 years old. You know, the things I realized is that I wish someone had told me that that when I was 45 years old, I still would feel young.
Yeah.
Because when I was 20, I kind of thought a 45-year-old would be old.
Right. Yeah.
And right now, I feel like I'm just getting started. Like I feel like, I mean, if I stay healthy, I could work for another 40 years.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, and also there's all kinds of things. Like I think that when I was younger, I wish I would have taken the time to enjoy things more. And I was constantly looking for the next thing, and really was impatient in a lot of aspects. I wish I would have enjoyed things more and embraced, embraced the jobs I was having and enjoyed it at the time.
Yeah. We were talking about, well, you know what I want to get into? I want to get into, as we talked about the farmer's market, and you like to go out there and you like to, grab stuff and cook with it. I've obviously been over to your house, and I wanted to talk to you about the garden that you have there, and
Yeah.
what brought that about, and what you enjoy doing with your kids, and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. My garden started because I literally was moved into a brand new home, or a new home to me, and I was watching a video of Jamie Oliver, and he was in the middle of an interview, and he walked out the door, and
Yeah.
he grabbed vegetables, he brought them in, he picked the vegetables, brought them in, and cooked something for these people on the video, right away. And so that was super inspiring to me. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, I'm never going to live in Essex, England with a farm. And so I started thinking about it, I was like, well, what if I just started doing that here in my house in Phoenix?
Yeah.
And I knew that obviously Arizona, there's a lot of good growing. We have low frost, all these different variety of reasons. I'm buying stuff from farmers, so I'm in tune with what's going on.
Right.
So I just started it. This was in 2011. And that year I read 20 gardening books. I watched tons and tons of videos on gardening, and I just started getting enthralled in gardening and educating myself. This was pre-kids.
Yeah.
And so I started, and the one reason why I wanted to have a garden and I wanted to be interested in gardening is that I wanted to be more in tune with my food. So I wanted to be able to, if I saw something growing at my house, I know that it would be growing out at the farm.
Yeah.
And so it would get me more in tune with what's in season, what's going on. When squash are just popping and they're little baby squash, when you're in a kitchen working all the time, sometimes there's a disconnect about what's going on in the farm
Yeah.
and what you can get, and then and so that was a little bit of my incentive, was to do that. And also that time period was a transition in my life to start trying to transition into a more healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so I also started learning that the people that were the healthiest actually grew their own food.
Yeah.
They stepped in soil and their bare feet and worked in the sun and all these variety of things that kind of was learning. So that was my whole motive. And then we started to have children.
Yeah.
And that was a big incentive because I wanted to give my children the food and the nourishment and the quality, at the highest quality I could for them. I was raised with food showed love, and we didn't have the data and information in 1973 that we do now, and so I struggled with my weight almost my entire life because my mother showed me love through food, and there was a price to pay with that because I was a fat kid.
Yeah, yeah.
And I knew that I did not want to do that for my children. I knew that at the point I was 40 years old, and I look back at all the decades of psychological issues I had because I was overweight, and I knew that I wanted to eliminate that in my children's life.
So as a quote-unquote older chef, and now having a family, and you talk about healthy lifestyle, I would, knowing you, like the hours that you have free, if any, you choose to either go run or swim or do some stuff instead of obviously going to the bar at night after work.
Yeah. I mean, really, my life changed when I met my wife.
Yeah.
She's younger, she's vibrant. What really happened is that we started spending a lot of time together.
Yeah.
And I saw me kind of being a wreck. I was eating a very loose diet, never really thinking about nourishing myself. It was always more about pleasure. Hey, Stevie, talk to them about keeping it down right now so they're clear, okay? Everyone who walks in. So really when I met my wife, Lee, and she was vibrant, she had worked out all the time, she grew up in a healthy lifestyle, I would watch her wake up in the morning and be super vibrant and tackle the day and be very stable in her mood, and then I was kind of a wreck. And so then it started making me realize that maybe my habits were the ones contributing to me being a little bit of a wreck, let's say emotionally, physically, and a variety of things like that. So I decided that I would change, and I'm going to tell you, it's been a slow progress.
Yeah.
I mean, it has been a struggle. It is not addictions to food, addictions to substance. I mean, it has not been an easy road. It is still to this day a constant battle and fight and struggle. But I will say that I'm much better than I was, and I'm improving. I feel confident, happy about that, and also it's giving me an opportunity to be more of a role model for my kids. And so that's exciting for me.
So when we talk about your kid, you have two boys.
Two boys, Arturo and Schaefer.
Yeah, and right now you're working on a project. You want to talk about that?
Sure. When my son Arturo was on the way, he's 4 years old now, so 5 years ago, I started doing researching. I'm a chef. I'm going to make their food. Why would I not? Why would I buy a jarred baby food when I can make it myself?
Exactly.
So I started doing research, and in that time period, I was really shocked because what I found a lot of was a lot of corporate-driven nonsense garbage, or I found a lot of boring nutritional information, data around feeding your kids. And so I was kind of confused, and then I found a few mommy bloggers. And so I was kind of confused because I wanted really simple, easy to grasp ways that I could prepare food for my kids. Like simple thing like, when do you introduce meat into your child's diet? If you have an infant that's born, when do you, and just that right there, that one question got me in a surge of like trying to find this. And most of the time, pre-internet, it was literally passed down from generation to generation. And I realized that I did not want my mom's information because my mom's information was wrong.
Right.
And so that started me on creating a project called Chef Dad. And Chef Dad is going to be, we're working on a book deal, I'm working on YouTube, social media, and Chef Dad is going to be a platform where parents can get information and data through me and my children on what am I feeding them and how am I getting them to eat broccoli straight from the garden. My children eat everything all the time. And you know, I think that a lot of parents have the wrong data. I think people are busy. I think it is a struggle to have a career, wake up, feed your kids healthy food. And I think there's a lot of psychological, one of the things I'm learning right now is how much psychological issues there are. Like, we never say in our home, you need to eat your vegetables. We just don't. My job as a parent is to create a nutritious plate of food, to drop that plate of food, and the child, the individual, the human being's job is to choose on what to eat and what not to eat.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's like really that simple. And I think that I see a lot of people get hung up on this where they're forcing their kids. We eat desserts because I don't want it to be a foreign thing where they are, when you create a scenario where they can't have something, they're going to want it more. We are already challenged because by human beings' makeup, genetic makeup, we are going to be addicted to sugar, and we're going to be addicted to processed carbohydrates, aka bread, grains, pasta.
I know I am.
Yeah,
God, it's so hard.
Everybody. So so you're already fighting that, and so when there's all these there's all this things that I've been trying to work on with my kids on allowing them to have that, but at the same time, them knowing that really the reality is they need a well-balanced diet. So we have my son, I was asking him the other day about what other kids have in their lunches, and he explained to me a chip that has a curve on it, and I came to realize it was a Pringle. So I went and bought Pringles, and like I've never had Pringles in my house ever, and not because like I think that we're so holier than thou, but just because I don't like them. I don't, it's not my thing. So I went and bought them for him. I put him in his lunch for 3 days. He was excited. And then it was a non-issue. We never had to talk about it again. It wasn't like he couldn't have it. He couldn't restrict it. Same thing with cereal. He's 4 years old and he's only had cereal a few times. And he told me he wanted to have cereal. We went and bought cereal. We had cereal throughout the weekend, and then I threw the box away. And it's never been even addressed. He's never even brought it up since then.
It's funny how you talk about the psychological issues that people have, with food, and it really starts out at childhood, but then you grow into this adult or this human that starts, picking and choosing certain things, and then as we get older, we want to be quote unquote healthier again, and then we relook at all these different diets that everybody's on. Keto, paleo, vegan, and it's like, in my opinion, I don't think there's one right or wrong answer for the individual. It's a matter of, again, going back into the psychological aspect of, shit, I'm really craving sugar right now. How do I get off of doing, what's an alternative to do that sort of thing? So,
or allowing yourself to have the sugar. And then going, I'm going to have some sugar, but guess what? I'm going to have sugar tonight, but tomorrow I'm back to my normal meal plan. And so that's what we do. We do have desserts, but most of my children's meals are healthy or healthful. When I can control things, now this goes back to I am a control freak with their food, but they do not know it. And so I do not make it apparent. But what I do is that when I can control what they're eating, I give them very healthy food, and they love it. But I don't make an issue when they go to grandma's and grandma takes them to McDonald's. I could care less. I'm like, great, that's awesome. I'm sure it was tasty. And they talk about it for about a week, and then they're back to their routine. And they love broccoli, they love vegetables, and sometimes they don't. And when they don't, guess what? Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And so I say, hey, no problem. Oh, you don't want to eat your broccoli? No problem. Sometimes I don't like eating broccoli either.
Yeah.
It's a non-issue. It is a non-subject in our house. I make food for myself and my wife and my family, and that's what they get. I've never once made my kids a special meal for themselves, a separate meal. Like there's all these things I watch parents do, and I just think that it's a lot of bad information and a lot of bad habit that I would love to inspire parents to connect with their children more through food.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Moving forward, with how busy you are with the family and running the restaurants and all that, how often do you put the chef coat on and actually go in and cook? How many nights a week?
To be honest with you, not a lot.
Yeah.
And here's the reason why. I mean, I have hundreds of employees.
Yeah.
I have to run the business.
Yeah.
I also have very capable chefs at my restaurants.
Yeah.
And I feel that if I were to show up every day in a chef jacket, it would take away from what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so that's another aspect I look at. So to be honest with you, I spend most of my time, I consider myself a talent seeker. I am constantly looking for talent for my businesses. I am constantly looking for a better system process for my business. I'm constantly looking at how do we involve the business. And that's where I spend most of my time.
Yeah.
I do not spend a lot of my time. I do work with them on the creativity, the conceptual, the dishes, the recipes, and things like that. But I am not suited up in my chef uniform very often at this point. Also, I've been in this business for 31 years.
Yeah.
I have literally worked in front of a stove.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I spend a lot of my life in front of a stove. And so, I'm evolving.
Yeah.
Like I want other stuff. Like what really excites me right now is working on Chef Dad and like how do I inspire people?
Right.
How do I make better choices at home? How do I create better processes and systems so I can run a company?
Yeah.
And I still take care of all my family's food.
Yeah, and you still do probably a lot of cooking at home and preparing.
Yeah, I cook at home a couple days a week,
Yeah.
but when I do, I batch prep and
Yeah.
meal prep and make sure my family has stuff in the refrigerator and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Well, that's cool. I mean, you give a lot of jobs to a lot of people out here. Like you said, you're a talent seeker, and that's number one for you right now to really create your vibe and the good food and people to come and have an enjoyable experience and have an incredible meal. So, leaving with this, what would you say is your biggest excitement about coming in every day? Like, what do you look forward to the most, and then what scares the shit out of you the most as far as like risk within the restaurant industry? Is it the hiring the people, the employees? Is it what?
Yeah, I mean, what really the thing that actually is the most satisfying in this business is my employees. And when I watch employees progress, it is the most gratifying thing out of everything. Anything I do. Yesterday, one of my employees bought a new car, and I went outside and they showed me their new car. And that like warms my heart that I can create an opportunity for them to make income, and I've watched this employee grow and progress, and now they're buying a new car for their family. That made my week, made my month. So I have a couple employees. One of them's name's Martine, and he worked for me when I met him. He lived in a garage with a pregnant girlfriend at age 15, and right now he's 24 years old. He is one of my chef de cuisines at the Phoenix Public Market, and I've just watched him progress as a young man, and I gotta tell you, to me, that's the biggest reward out of anything else. And what scares me? Everything. I'm scared all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm scared to fail. I'm scared, about everything. I mean, this industry changes rapidly. What people did in 1991 obviously does not work in 2019.
Right.
And so there's just, the industry's changing, and there's so many different dynamics, and so, I am constantly scared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like I literally, you know, and not in a bad way. Like I'm scared because I'm weak, but I'm scared because I want to grow a business. I want to do well. I want to do things, and I also have come to realize that, you know, the restaurant business is very volatile.
Yeah.
The restaurant business is there. You know, you look at all the things that, you know, if you do too much artistry, then you miss the market.
Yeah.
If you do, you know, there's all these different variety of things. And so, but I will tell you, I love this business. I love the industry. I love the customers. I love the employees. I love the creativity aspect. I love coming to a restaurant every day. And that's what keeps me going.
Would you say advice for any other restaurateurs or people starting is just really just creating that foundation and that team, that all-star team to really just...
Yeah, you know, the all-star team is an interesting aspect because, you know, the restaurant industry, the average employee stays less than 8 months.
Yeah.
So, you know, your team evolves.
Right.
And so...
But even your team and just even other industries, whether it's that person that's helping you with the accounting or the person that's coming
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, the biggest thing I tell young people, move faster.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done this earlier.
Yeah.
I opened my first restaurant, I was 34, 33, 34. I wish I would have done when I was 30.
Yeah.
I learned all the same lessons. I didn't, you know, I listen to people and they say, oh, well, I'm not quite there, or I've got to learn more. Like, these are all just excuses and stuff that society tells you. Move faster.
Yeah.
That's like if you know you want to open a restaurant, you know you're going to be in this, go. Do not wait. Because also this is a young man's sport.
Yeah.
This is when I see people that are young and figuring out the aspects of business and the learning curve of being your own boss and all that variety, the earlier the better.
The earlier the better. No, that's very cool, and I think that's great advice. So we will leave on that. I will say that Aaron is very approachable. He's awesome. If you see him in one of his restaurants, I mean, you know, just go up and say hi to him. He's more than happy to chat. And he's a good dude, and his places are absolutely amazing. So I appreciate you hanging out with me.
Yeah, you bet. And also follow me on Instagram.
Yes, follow. Yeah, where else?
Instagram.
When's Chef Shed coming out?
I gotta tell you that I think that we'll start seeing stuff in the next 60 days.
Cool.
So by summertime, we'll start getting momentum.
I'll start sharing that and posting it on all
Yeah,
that stuff
but
as
you
well.
know, Aaron_Chamberlin on Instagram, chefaaronchamberlin.com. Those are all the places you can find me, find my restaurants, find everything.
Yeah, he's very active on social media, so you know, pretty much what's being posted out there is him, and it's what he's doing. And my favorite thing are his videos is when he goes to the farmer's market and he does all the snippets of what he's picked up, and he shows him cooking it, and it's pretty awesome. So anyways, we had a good 40 minutes here with Aaron. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I got some more podcasts coming up. Actually, I've got a designer that I will have on next week, so I'm excited about that. And hope you guys enjoyed, and that's it. Peace out.
Awesome.